Those who are obsessive compulsive are simply more sensitive to criticism than the rest of us. Hi, I'm Rogers Follansby, the author of It's Not Your Fault. Today, let's talk about OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. Many of us are familiar with this psychological term, OCD, and what OCD is usually associated with. But what is OCD from a structured psychological perspective? Structurally speaking, obsessive compulsive disorder is characterized by those who feel overly susceptible to being criticized by the world around them. From a psychologically structured viewpoint, when someone becomes hypersensitive to any and all outside criticism, they may enter into what we call a hyper-defensive phase of life and do their best to render their world as contradiction-free as possible. The structured status of someone suffering from OCD, it'll kind of encourage them to reduce the possibility of any contradictions that might come their way. They'll do this by taking as much of their world as they possibly control it. In other words, they'll keep themselves as far away as possible from anything and everything they might feel could put them into a negative position or could be looked down on, and at the same time be associated with who they are. So in order to reach that goal of eliminating any criticism, they'll do everything they can to render as perfectly as they can those elements that are associated with who they are that could be interpreted as negative. At this point, you might ask yourself if there's a point at which some kind of blanket perfection could be created anyway. No, of course there isn't. To make things worse, one's idea of perfection may not be another's. And therefore, trying to render one's world totally perfect is simply unobtainable, no matter how much control is used. Those who are obsessive compulsive are simply more sensitive to criticism than the rest of us. In other words, they may feel more vulnerable than the norm to any negative feedback, real or imagined, that they might receive from their environment. And therefore, they'll go to obsessive lengths to render that world as perfect as possible. Kitchen tables will be obsessively cleaned, hairs on one's head aligned, bills paid ahead of time, and so forth. For a much more detailed understanding of obsessive compulsive disorder and how you are put together psychologically, please pick up a copy of my book, It's Not Your Fault. There you'll discover how all of us are put together psychologically and why we do the things we do. Thank you for watching.